So we have already covered the first two scenarios. Number one, where the limit exists, and number two, where the limit does not exist, where 0 is in the denominator. The third scenario is when after substituting for x, the answer comes out to be 0 divided by 0. Then we have to move to step number 2, which is manipulation of the equation to find the answer. There are a total number of 6 manipulation techniques that are in the syllabus of Calculus 1. 3 are for algebraic equations and the other 3 are for trigonometric equations. Let's look at the ones for algebraic equations in detail. There are 2 steps towards solving any problem. The first step is that we try taking something common, and the second step is to apply one of the following manipulation techniques. Let's look at the first manipulation technique. It is a square minus b square can be written as a plus b and a minus b. The format of the question would be something like this: x square minus 9, where 9 can be written as 3 square. So our expression would become x square minus 3 square, which is the same expression as this format, a square minus b square, and we can elaborate it in this format: a plus b, a minus b, or x plus 3, x minus 3. Let's try solving for one of the problems. Limit as x approaches 4 of x square minus 16 divided by x square minus 4x. We know that the first step towards solving any calculation limit problem is simply substitution. So we will try substituting 4 into the equation. So it would become 4 square minus 16 divided by 4 square minus 4 into 4, which is 16 minus 16 divided by 16 minus 16. The answer is 0 divided by 0. Now whenever the answer is 0 divided by 0, we know that in order to find the answer, we have to manipulate the equation. Step A is to try taking common, so let's do that. In the numerator, we can see that we cannot take anything common, so it would remain the same, x squared minus 16. In the denominator, we can take x common, and it would become x minus 4. Now step B, where we apply the manipulation technique. We can see that in the numerator, we can write 16 as 4 square. So this entire equation would become x squared minus 4 square divided by x minus 4. Now you can see that in the numerator we have reached this format, a square minus b square. So we will elaborate it by writing x plus 4 x minus 4 divided by x minus 4. We can simply cancel off x minus 4 and x minus 4 from here, and we will be left with x plus 4 divided by x. Now if we substitute for x again, we will get 4 plus 4 divided by 4, which is 8 divided by 4, and the answer is 2. So 2 is your answer. Let's try doing some practice questions for this manipulation technique. Limit as x approaches 3 of x cubed minus 9x divided by x squared minus 3x. We know that the first step towards solving any calculation limit problem is simply substitution. So we will do that. 3 cubed minus 9 into 3 divided by 3 square minus 3 into 3. So it will become 27 minus 27 divided by 9 minus 9, which is 0 divided by 0. Now whenever we get a 0 divided by 0, we have to apply one of the 6 manipulation techniques to find an answer. The first step is to try taking something common. So let's do that. In the numerator, I can take x common, and we'll have x squared minus 9. In the denominator, I can also take x common, and we will have x minus 3. We can simply cancel x over here, and we will be left with x squared minus 9 divided by x minus 3. Now you can see here that 9 can also be written as 3 square. So our expression would become x square minus 3 square divided by x minus 3. Now in the numerator, we have reached this format, a square minus b square. So I can elaborate it as x plus 3, x minus 3 divided by the same x minus 3. Now here I can simply cancel off x minus 3 and I'll be left with x plus 3. And if I substitute for x again, I will get 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. 6 is your answer. Limit as x approaches 4 of x cube minus 4x squared divided by x squared minus 16. We know the first step is to simply substitute for x. We will get 4 cube minus 4 square divided by 4 square minus 16, which is 64 minus 64 divided by 16 minus 16, and it is 0 divided by 0. Now as we have got 0 divided by 0, we know that in order to find an answer, we have to manipulate the equation. The first step is to try taking common, so I will do that. In the numerator, we can take x square common and we'll have x minus 4. In the denominator, we cannot take anything common, so we will simply write the same equation again. Now you can see that 16 can also be written as 4 square. So our equation would become x square x minus 4 divided by x square minus 4 square. Now in the denominator, you can see that we have reached this expression a square minus b square. So I can elaborate it by writing x plus 4 x minus 4, and in the numerator we'll have the same thing, x square x minus 4. Here we can simply cancel off x minus 4 and x minus 4 and we'll be left with x square divided by x plus 4. Now if we substitute for x, we will simply get 4 square divided by 4 plus 4, which is 16 divided by 8, and the answer is 2. Let's try doing a few more questions. Limit as x approaches 1 of x square minus 1 divided by x minus 1. The first step is to simply substitute, so we will get 1 square minus 1 divided by 1 minus 1, which is 0 divided by 0. Now as we have 0 divided by 0, we know that we need to manipulate the equation to find an answer. The first step is to try taking something common. We can see that we cannot take anything common from either the numerator or the denominator. So we will jump onto the second step, which is applying the manipulation technique. Over here, you can see that 1 can also be written as 1 square. This is also one of the trick questions that the examiner loves giving in the exam. So our expression would become x square minus 1 square divided by x minus 1. Now in the numerator, we have reached this format, a square minus b square. So we will elaborate it by writing x plus 1 x minus 1 divided by the same x minus 1. Here we can simply cancel off x minus 1 and x minus 1 and we'll be left with x plus 1. Now if we substitute for x again, we will get 1 plus 1, which is 2. So 2 is your answer. For the next question, limit as x approaches 0 of 10x divided by x cube plus 5x. By simply substituting for x, we can get 10 multiplied by 0 divided by 0 plus 5 into 0, which is simply 0 divided by 0 plus 0, which is 0 divided by 0. Now as we have touched 0 divided by 0, we know that we have to apply one of the manipulation techniques to find an answer. The first step would simply be to try taking something common. In the numerator, we cannot take anything common, so it would be 10x divided by, in the denominator, we can take x common, and we'll have x square plus 5. Here we can cancel off x and we'll be left with 10 divided by x squared plus 5. Now we can see that there is no way to either manipulate the numerator or the denominator to reach our standard format, this one. So we will stop here and try substituting for x again and see if we get 0 out of 0 or something else. So in the numerator we'll have 0 and in the denominator we'll have 0 plus 5, which is 0 divided by 5. Now it is not 0 divided by 0, and anything divided by 0 is simply 0. So 0 is your answer. And we do not need to manipulate it anymore because our answer is not 0 divided by 0. Let's quickly summarize what we have learned up till now. In a calculation of limit question, the first step is that we substitute for x. We'll get either of the three scenarios. Number 1, we will get an answer, which means the limit exists. Then number 2, we will have a 0 in the denominator, which means the limit does not exist. And the third scenario is we get a 0 divided by 0. That means that we need to manipulate the equation to find an answer. Now there are 6 possible manipulation techniques. 3 are for algebraic equations and 3 are for trigonometric equations. We also learned that step A in manipulation is to try taking something common, and step B is applying the manipulation technique. Then we went over to learn the first manipulation technique, which was a square minus b square, which can be written as a plus b, a minus b. In the next couple of videos, we will learn the next 5 manipulation techniques. Hello everyone, welcome to All Possible Questions. In this video, we'll be covering calculating limits.